What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Nick de la Torre show. Super stoked to be here with you today on this lovely Friday afternoon. Of course, though, it is not Friday afternoon if you're watching the recording afterwards. But for those of us in the here and now, Ethan, how the crap are you, man?
Well, as they say, I am here, and I am ready to go through these amazing things that we have garnered. No thanks to you guys, but I'll go to that later, but it's okay. Yes, I'm very excited. It should be a good show.
Yeah, we got some hot topics going on here today, I
Very
think.
hot.
One of them in particular I'm mildly intimidated to get into.
Off the presses, that's for sure. Very hot.
Yeah,
So,
hot, super hot fire. We got stuff that if you touched it,
yeah,
you might burn yourself.
You would burn yourself. I did today, so
we're gonna be touching it, man.
yeah,
metaphorically.
Yeah.
The topics.
I'm not. Nope.
All right. Anyway,
Anyways.
we got people in the chat excited that 3 times over excited that Ethan is here with us on the live stream, Mr. Watchtower.
Yeah.
Which,
always the Ethan fan. I think at this point he is the Ethan fan.
So well, and rightfully so.
No, it's okay.
In fact, I might need to arm wrestle Watchtower to compete for who is the definitive Ethan fan.
I see. Interesting choice. Okay. We'll see how that goes.
Overwatch says he changed his shirt for the show. You're not wrong. Mildly creepy. Wonder why you knew that. Alrighty. And we got Austin Mass, the only person with the guts to let us know who he is. Good afternoon, dear comrades of Catholicism, says Austin Mass. Okay, so today we are talking about, and by the way, before we get into today's topics,
yep.
So I mentioned last week that I finished my book.
Ah, yes, you did.
And I am supremely excited to share with you that now my book is also finished being edited.
Whoa.
Yeah, big deal.
That is a big deal.
Big stuff. So it's like, it's a finished message, top to bottom. And I'm proud of it.
A little insider knowledge. Eric Laprete was here earlier, the Knights of Columbus. I don't actually know what his title is. Do you know what his title is?
He is the Grand Master Chief of Knights of Columbus.
Okay, so he's the big poobah. Okay.
He's like the Knights of Columbus rep.
Okay.
Like coordinating
so he was here,
our region.
He's got an idea. Anyways, they were talking. You'll see later down the line, I'm sure. If you follow Knights of Columbus, I don't know if he wants it public yet, so I'm going to let him do that. You'll see what it is. But anyways, he was just here, and you were talking about the book, and it sounded like, it sounds like you have a very complete mission, it just, I don't know, it just felt... when you hear book, what?
Well, I wanted to ask you actually, and I forgot to. This is great that we're doing it on the live stream. So what Ethan's talking about is that earlier this afternoon, Eric Laprete, who manages and is the Knights of Columbus rep for like the whole region of the Diocese of Toledo in Ohio, he is starting a Knights of Columbus podcast.
I didn't know if you wanted that public.
No, it's very public already.
Okay.
He's starting a Knights of Columbus podcast for our diocese, all of the councils in it. And so today was the first episode of that, and I was the guest on it. And he got to, the reason he made me the guest is because of the book. So it was kind of my first,
which is very gracious of him as well.
Oh, yeah, super sweet of him.
Yeah.
And basically... So he interviewed. This is like my first press interview about my book, and I've really never had the opportunity to share about it the way that I did today. And I'm super excited because I will be doing a lot more of that. But I'm curious, Ethan, as an audience member, so to speak, of that interview, how did you feel about the things that I shared? What was your reaction to all of that?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, as you said, it was your fairly first. Formal interview for it. So in my opinion, I mean, it's not, he made a joke earlier in that episode that, it's your new title of book writer, but it sounded like when you were talking, it sounded like you were I can't think of what the term is, but you've been writing books forever. And the way that you were describing your book it was just very, it was just good. It was very thought provoking, and what you were putting down was you were promoting your book in a way that makes people want to read it.
No,
You
thanks,
know,
man.
so yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was. I mean, I still need to read it myself. I haven't been sent one because I didn't want to see it before I was ready internally to read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like a great book. It sounds super exciting.
Thank
That's
you,
what's
man.
for sure.
I appreciate it. I'm glad that was your reaction.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure to share. We'll make some posts once that interview goes live.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. I'm glad that was your takeaway from it.
Yeah, I can't think of the term. I'll have to try to think of it throughout the stream, or I'll just forget about it. So
Okay.
but yeah, like seasoned. You were it felt like you were a seasoned book writer.
Oh,
That's what it. Yeah, that's
thanks,
that's
man.
how it felt. So even though it was your first one, so yeah, I was impressed, Nick. Good job.
Well, thank
A+.
you, sir. Yeah, and it's not just because I write your I do your payroll. It's not just
what?
that.
No, of course, Nick. If it was, I'm not even gonna get into that. Nope, we're not going into that on stream.
So Austin Mass says he wishes he had a copy of the Jehovah Witness. Oh, he says
there was a Jehovah Witness at his house, and he wished he had it for them.
Oh man,
so,
that's great.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
great. I mean, you know.
well let's dive in. Yeah, next time, Austin.
Next.
Let's dive into this.
Yeah. So I'm sure everybody knows what Monday was. And to open up, you know what? Let's just say a quick prayer right now. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, for all of those people whose lives were taken from them on 9/11, Lord, please, we ask for the repose of their souls. And for all those families affected, that they may be granted peace, and just, a greater understanding of your will for them in this massive journey called life. And we ask this all in your name, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
So what I just did there is what everybody should do, because 9/11 was tragic, right? Everybody remembers where they were, unless, they weren't alive, or they were alive, but they were young. Anyways, but yeah, everybody knows where they were. It was a tragic event. And so we'll just jump right. Oh, I don't know why I'm jumping into that right away.
It's okay. Let's do it.
But let's just do it since I'm doing it.
Yeah.
The president of the United States, however, was the president of the United States. Not like, anybody else. Like, it wasn't the one that is currently in office, who is in charge of, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, all of that. He was, he had his little talk. Every president gives their talk, and this is what President Biden had to say. Apparently nobody could hear that. It's okay. You didn't miss much, because it was awful. It was boring, and it made me want to cry. I know it probably made Nick want to cry.
Here's what I will say for the recorded version of this that'll go live.
Yeah.
We'll cut that out.
Yeah, honestly, because it's just trash, right?
Yeah.
He walks on stage and mumbles, and it was just a mess. All right, so what I'm about to show you is our former president, the one who probably should have been president, but that's okay. We won't talk about
that. My gosh.
Anyways.
These are the words of Ethan Nagy, not a formal position of Awakened Catholic.
But here we go. Here's this.
No one who lived through the horror of the September 11th terrorist attack.
What?
Okay, I'm going back to the beginning.
All right. No one who lived through the horror of the September 11th terrorist attacks can ever forget the agony and the anguish of that terrible day. It was a terrible day.
I swear.
The images of dark plumes of smoke.
Nick, we need to upgrade we need to go to fiber. Where is fiber? Can I find
All right, if you want to help us have a stronger internet connection here at Awakened Catholic, visit awakenedcatholic.org/donate.
Billowing over Lower Manhattan, the Pentagon, and a field of Pennsylvania, such a beautiful field, are seared into our minds forever. We will never forget. Today, on this solemn anniversary of those monstrous attacks, we remember the 2,977 precious souls who were savagely taken from us on that morning 22 years ago, leaving a void that can never be filled, no matter what happens, it can never be filled. We will say a prayer for each of the beautiful families they left behind, whose pain is beyond comprehension. What they've gone through is not even believable. We honor the firefighters, the great New York PD, the police department, what great people they are. They are so great. And the Port Authority officers, the Virginia, D.C., and Pentagon police, and the military service members and other first responders, actually all over the country. They acted with supreme heroism, and they went to the site of the most heinous crime. They would leave other states far away and go to the World Trade Center site, the Pentagon. They'd go to Pennsylvania, who in many cases gave their lives in the line of duty. God bless the memory of all of those who perished in the 9/11 attacks. We will never, ever forget. We will never forget you. We love you. God bless their families, and God bless America. Thank you.
And that was the 1 minute 45 seconds of in comparison to 16 minutes
of
rambling and talking about yourself on an event that should not be focused on yourself and should have been exactly like that. And you're right. Look, I don't, I think this is the worst part about this, right? Is that I'm not happy that Biden can't. I mean, it's kind of like the verbology that I want to use, because like, it's unfortunate that we have voted that man into a place of power and he can't even give a formal speech. Like, it doesn't. How long was mine in the beginning of this? How long, Nick? Maybe 5, 10.
Here's the thing.
15 seconds.
We have this culture, this extreme bipartisan binary culture that we are being forced upon, or that is being forced upon us. You have to pick a side, and there are people that I know that voted for Biden and made him the president. That today, I know, like, there are two camps. One, you now see clearly.
Yeah.
And you're like, what did I do?
Right.
And it is, what did I do? Because any person that voted for him made this all a reality.
Yeah.
Like our economy right now, like everything, it's all because if you're out there and you voted for him, you were, I don't know. Yeah. We have to take some responsibility for our mistakes.
Yeah.
And it is a mistake that this man is our president. There's no question about it. For so many reasons. From a Catholic perspective, the life issues, the gender, the agenda of gender that now, like, we have so many victims. We've talked about this episode after episode, that we have so many young, innocent victims of this gender identity agenda. There are so many reasons. Every time I fill up the gas, every time that, like, the groceries are so ridiculously expensive, like, so many things. But I love that you're kind of presenting this, because you're right. Like 16 minutes of psychobabble and slurring and just sounding like a crazy drunken old man. That a crazy drunken old man that has Alzheimer's.
Well,
that's what he sounds like. And then in
on
contrast,
a day when it shouldn't be that hard. Like, it's not that hard. Really, it's not. You just be remorseful, be sorrowful, and get it over. Like. Apparently later in the speech, I didn't get to this part. Even when I watched it, I couldn't. It's just so. Apparently, he says that we should forget as well. But it was weird because when he entered the speech, he was like, never forget, like 6 times. So, like, I don't know how he got to the second half of him saying to forget. But it just doesn't make any sense. That's kind of how I feel. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there listening to it and then you watch, that's why I was originally, when we were going to do this part, I was originally going to show Trump first, but like, I think that that's just unfair because like, you're going from somebody who, because here's the thing is, right? That's the other thing about Trump's one. I'm pretty sure he was reading from a card, but
of course,
but even then, right? Even if Trump was in Biden's place, it would have been much shorter. It would have been straight and to the point. He might have rambled a little bit, but it wouldn't have been as. I mean, but here's the thing: is right. We don't know how it would have gone, and it's a 9/11 thing. So, but it's just depressing. That's all.
And just
really
to be clear, the proposition here is not that Trump is without sin,
Right.
right? That's
Exactly.
not at all what we're talking
Right.
about.
Yes.
Because there isn't a perfect person walking the planet right now.
Correct.
And we will never have a perfect
person.
president, and we
Yes.
have never had a perfect president.
Yes.
But this juxtaposition, I mean, it almost speaks for itself. Let's move on.
Yes. Yeah. So now we'll go to what was supposed to be the first thing.
Okay.
Because we weren't supposed to be as political first thing.
Okay.
It was supposed to be more interesting.
All right.
So we'll switch over to that.
Charlie Kirk again. You bringing him back?
I blame Colleen.
Okay.
I blame Colleen. All right. So here we go. I'm just gonna. Oh, I need to do this. Yes, what a guy.
Before we play this,
Yeah.
if you're watching this right now, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, hit the like button.
Oh yeah.
Share the stream. Make sure you're subscribed, and maybe shoot the link to this stream via text message to your friends and family, whatever. Help us spread the word about what is happening here.
Yeah.
All right.
No matter how messy it is.
That's right.
All right, here we go.
There's a reason why the dress for the man is the same at a wedding and a funeral, because you're saying goodbye to your previous self.
Mm.
The woman is the icon, the symbol of beauty, almost always in all white, right? Ascendant. The man is usually in black and white, like he's attending somebody's death, because it is his death. No, but think about it. It's the death of the bachelor mindset. It's the death of promiscuity. It's the death of the wandering eye. It's the death of immoral behavior. It's the death of texting girls casually. It's the death of I get to do what I want to do. It's the death of just going to the bar with friends. It's the death of acting like an infant. It's the death of playing video games till 1 a.m. And it's the birth of a man.
Yeah. Wow. So good.
So
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
But
so
I knew that you would love this.
You didn't like the video game part.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
Look, a man's got what is it? A man's got things he must do, and some of those things aren't video games.
All right.
But no. I think the part that I struggle with, and I was trying to like get this to like when me and Colleen were talking about it yesterday.
All right.
And I couldn't articulate with her then. But what I was frustrated about by that was that basically what that's saying to me is that he's supposed to find himself in his marriage and with his wife. But he should, I mean, and you and Eric actually kind of touched on this before today too. And we have talked about this, I feel like. But like it is good for a man to be better and like because of his marriage. That makes sense. But also, he should not be doing those things. Like the examples that Kirk gave, like I just didn't like them. Not the video games one. That one makes sense. But like the promiscuity and things like that. No, I get that's what boys do. Mm-hmm. But like I don't know. It was just like it rubbed me the wrong way because in my opinion, like we shouldn't, at least in my like how I felt for the longest of times was that when I got married, everything would change. I would be a different man. And, like I would, again, I'd be a different person. Mm-hmm. But that's not what Christ calls us to. Christ calls us to be that different person now. He asks us to carry our cross now, to make those changes now. Mm-hmm. And then through marriage, then we can be even a greater man. We should be a man before we enter marriage. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what rubbed me the wrong way.
Gotcha.
Was that like, it was almost as if Kirk was saying to find yourself in your marriage and your wife becomes who you are supposed to be. And that is not true. Like we are one being together, like, in marriage, like you become one new being together, but also, I don't know. Marriage is also like super hard for me because like I'm not in it yet. And like, I may or may not desire it. And so I have so many feelings of how I want to be like, I think we've talked about this, like being a gift to my wife, like that's something that I completely struggle with. Mm. And so when I hear something like that, where it's basically saying like, you can do those things until marriage and like, no, like we should be holding ourselves to a higher standard, making a gift of our lives, right? Becoming a sacrifice of our life. You know, I don't know. That was kind of how I felt.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I mean, everything you just shared, I validate. You know, so it's important to consider Charlie Kirk here is not, what he's doing is not like conveying any kind of a dogmatic, you know, we have to understand what he's talking about clothing. Okay. And clothing.
Correct. Yes.
The black and white dress that men wear.
Yeah.
That is not some kind of a theological thing. It's hardly a traditional thing.
Interesting.
You know, so if you,
this is good because me and Colleen couldn't find out, because I was trying to look it up if the, you know, black and white for the man was traditional at all.
Yeah, so I'm open to being corrected on this if anyone in the chat knows, but my understanding is that some of those stylistic choices are largely European in influence, and don't date back that far, other than, you know, going back into British royalty or whatever would you know, wear the weird frills and stuff. I don't know why they ever thought that looked good, but the point is the point is that the average pauper in you know, the kingdom, would they have had a black and white tuxedo?
Yeah, probably not.
No, absolutely not. They probably would have been wearing, you know, maybe if they were this blessed, if they had this capacity, maybe like a tan or brown blazer, maybe a brown tie. Like, I'm not speaking from any kind of like historicity that I can point to, but what I am saying is that what he's doing here is good in as much as he's trying to teach men that there is a higher good than the selfish lives that they're living right now.
Yeah.
And that when they get married, what is true is that you are committing to die to yourself and give yourself completely to your bride.
Yeah.
So you are not anymore living for your own gratification, your own self-seeking. Because it's actually interesting what you were talking about, like, and Watchtower said something in the chat as well about, you know, if you're waiting until marriage to die to those vices, then your marriage is going to fail, and you'll be a terrible husband and father.
Yeah.
And he's right about that. But it isn't just about the vices. So even good things that you can do as a single man, like a really beautiful, devout prayer life, you have to die to yourself a little bit once you're married, and especially once you have kids.
Yeah.
You know, so I've shared before, I don't remember that it was on the live stream or not, but when I was a bachelor still, I was really, really loving the practice of praying the Liturgy of the Hours in the morning, in the evening, at night. And that was a really awesome thing for me. I would hit up daily mass almost every day. And once I had kids, I was really, especially with my first kid, I really wrestled with this, like, what the heck? I really miss doing the Liturgy of the Hours or whatever. And a friend of mine says to me, Nick, you're a married man. Your vocation is not to live like a monk. Your vocation is to live in the world, but not of the world, as a married man. So there are both good and bad things that we need to be willing to die to ourselves. So I agree with you, Ethan. I agree with you, Watchtower. It's not like it is when you get married that you should try to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
We all should always be trying to be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think he was just using that clothing to illustrate the principles of what you're committing to at that point.
I think I just take his videos more personally because I just don't think I like Kirk that much, but that's okay.
Charlie, he's a little abrasive.
He comes off as very abrasive.
Yeah.
And so, like, when he opens his mouth, I just want to disagree with everything that comes out. So, but it's just, there's nothing he didn't, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang it. I was going to try to nail it on the first try. Retrocalypse.
Yeah. You probably could just say retro, but anyway.
No, it's not his name. He says, my issue with speeches like that is that they always target the man. I've never seen an equivalent speech to women and how they should behave in a marriage. Well, you know, objectively, it's possible that the algorithms know you're a man and they're not giving you that stuff.
Yeah, but Colleen was the one who gave me that.
No, Retrocalypse.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Gotcha.
I agree with you. There is a lot less of that, and I think part of that could be that it doesn't not exist.
Yeah.
But there is less.
Yeah.
And our society is in this really weird place right now where the traditional values of gender roles and the norms of the structure of a household, the more traditionally you view that stuff, the more kind of anathema you are in our society. And so even if you hold more traditional views about some of those gender roles and what virtue looks like for a woman, if you dare say anything that contradicts the elevating of women pursuing their dreams, whatever they are, at whatever cost or whatever, even in a Catholic context, everyone's going to be like, did he just say that? Like, did she just say that? Like, we're not supposed to like that, right? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that partially there's less of it because of that. But there's so many dynamics at play for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the last thing I'll say was that I think that a big aspect of this as well is that everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
So like, whatever you're being specifically called to in your single life, maybe it's not liturgy of the hours. Maybe it's a rosary every morning before you go to work. Everybody's called to something different, and God, that's the beauty of God's love, is that it's personal, right? It's something that only we will know how to do when we're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of my final 2 cents on it.
All right.
So, yeah. All right. Well, I guess are you?
But I would say that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I would say though to that last comment that we all have, like you're saying, we all have unique individual journeys, but there are some common denominators that ought to be there.
Yeah.
That we are encouraged not to believe are common denominators for all men and for all women.
I see. Like?
Okay. See, that's not
Here's
fair.
The thing is, right? Hey, look. I want to be enlightened. Enlighten me. Come on. If you're gonna try to correct me, come on.
Okay. All right.
Common denominators.
I'm gonna start with this one. Common denominator for all people, male and female.
I like this.
Porn is no bueno.
Okay, great. Yes, that's a great one.
It's encouraged as healthy. It's encouraged as whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Common denominator for all people. Extramarital cohabitation. And by extramarital, I mean outside of marriage.
Okay.
So whether that's pre-marriage or outside of marriage and no intention to get married.
Gotcha.
Right? So extramarital cohabitation or conjugal relations,
nice.
no bueno for anyone.
Okay.
Right? So those are common denominators for both genders.
So almost like following the commandments.
One could say. One could say. I'm not saying it, but one could say. No, I'm totally saying it. You're absolutely right.
So no murder?
No murder.
Dang it!
You're gonna have to cut back on that, Ethan.
Dang
you have to cut back on it.
Oh, well, these bodies back here. What am I gonna do with them?
I know. Wait, we do. Just for the record, we do not have any bodies here at Awaken.
I'm not a murderer, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Nick's like, I'm not so sure.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. But before we move on to it, also my laptop is almost dead, so I might end up having to pull the YouTube feed up on my phone and only seeing those comments. But before we get to that, I just want to let you know, viewer, that if you are enjoying this and you want to be a part of what makes it all possible, visit awakencatholic.org/donate. And you can join the Awaken Nation, and it's just a community of amazing people, some of whom are watching the stream right now. You could become one of them, literally making this possible. We need your help. Don't be thinking to yourself, I don't need to help. Someone else is helping. That's not how this works. We need more people to help. All right, as it were. Let's move on.
That's funny. That's a good one. You should help, though, viewer. You should help. Anyways, yeah. So, Nick, do you want? I mean, I don't know. This was one that was also brought on our plate by our lovely helper, Colleen, our assistant.
Oh, she is so much more than a helper.
I know, dude. She might as well be like the angel of.
She is Awaken.
That's true. She does. Yeah, she is. So, this one was also brought to us by her.
She sent this to me a couple of days ago. She was like, Nick, I know that normally we don't reveal to you what the topics are going to be, but I feel like this one, I need you to screen it and make sure you're okay with us using this. And I appreciate the sensitivity because there's actually a connection between this and the first topic we discussed, which I'll make that connection after we look at this clip. In fact, I'm not sure which clip you're going to show me here.
We have several clips. I was just going to start at the top. Is there one that you would like me to start with?
Each of these is about a minute long, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the clips, let me just say that,
because we don't have to do any clips either if you don't want
I
to.
am not someone who wants to instigate fear or wants to instigate or perpetuate division. But I'm also not someone who will stand by and pretend there is not a problem when there is one. Anyone in my life knows, while I am not perfect and I don't claim to be perfect, and I don't know everything and I don't claim to know everything, to the best of my ability with integrity, I see something and I call it like it is. Whether that's a dysfunction interpersonally between myself and a friend or myself and a loved one, and sometimes I'm the one in the wrong. But when I am in the wrong, I receive that and I acknowledge it for what it is, and I try my best to have the humility to acknowledge that. Again, imperfectly, but I try. What we're seeing right now, this topic has to do with Pope Francis. What we're seeing right now is similar, in my mind, to what we saw in President Trump and President Biden, in particular during the campaign trail before this current presidency. When on either side, you would have people so determined to defend an idea, and in defending the idea, defend the person. Undeservedly, but because they cannot imagine being wrong about it. And looking at anyone that saw it differently as the crazy person, the crazy people. Right? So if you were a pro-Trump person during the election cycle, you would see anyone not voting for Trump as a crazy person. And honestly, I will admit that was me, and I made mistakes along the way. And there were even some social media posts I made that were imprudent, and it was, we all make mistakes. And then the same thing in the other camp. If you were pro-Biden, anyone not voting for Biden in your mind was crazy. And was wrong. We have a situation right now in the church that within the Catholic Church, this is essentially, as far as I can tell, irrelevant to Orthodox Christians and irrelevant to Protestants. It really, if you are Catholic, there's this thing happening right now where our Pope Francis is making weird decision after weird decision, leading to incredible confusion, and it is a problem. And we see this hesitation and this fear amongst Catholics and many Catholic thought leaders. There's a hesitation sometimes to call something out for what it is. But then on the other side of it, the people that are willing to call it out for what it is, even like from an authoritative standpoint, even as someone who is a Catholic thought leader, where you know that people are watching and listening to what you say, and they are on pins and needles, and they're waiting to see how they're supposed to feel about it. Where the other extreme of it is to essentially be, well, we've seen people calling Pope Francis a heretic, people calling him the Antichrist, and then there's so much fear that's created by these very disparate approaches. And now there's talk of, is there going to be a schism or schism or schism, however you want to say it. But there's all of this angst that is built up because of this confusion. And the challenge is, to me, that I see our church as a family because we're a family of faith. And it isn't just if you carry the label Catholic. The family of faith is all Christians, Protestant or Anabaptist or Orthodox or Catholic. That is one body of Christ, even if there are divisions within it. But I see it as a family because it is. And in seeing it as a family, I immediately draw connections to my experiences with family and divisions within family. And so it leads me to the divorce of my parents and what the fallout was from that. And there are people that make tremendously volatile and rupturous decisions, like Martin Luther, for example, where one man's choice of how to deal with a problem, and let's not be confused, there were problems. One man's choice of how to deal with a problem, the fallout is being felt for centuries by innocent bystanders, right? So like the Protestants of today, by and large, did not choose the label of Protestant. They hardly understand what it is they're protesting, right? And so my concern right now with what's happening with Pope Francis is when I think back to my upbringing and being the product of divorce, like, regardless of whether or not the divorce was necessary and annulment, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the validity of it, because they got an annulment. So the church said,
Right.
this is valid.
Yeah.
So that's not the point. The point is when it happens, the children suffer.
Yeah.
Right? And right now, there's so much infighting amongst the leadership of our church.
Yeah.
And who is suffering? Us.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that coin is historically in the faith, our leadership has to infight to get to the truth.
Yeah.
We even see this play out in the New Testament, where there are instances where St. Paul is like, hey, Peter, get your act together.
Yeah.
Right? So are we gonna pretend that that's not allowed to still happen?
Yeah.
Are we gonna pretend that if a bishop or pope gets out of line, that he is not to be reprimanded or corrected, fraternally corrected by his brother bishops?
Yeah.
If it happened in the New Testament, why should we assume it can't continue to happen?
Yeah.
We need this is the role of the bishops, is to protect the truth. And when the truth is being muddled up, when it's being muddied, we need some of this discourse that's happening to create the clarity that we all need. Okay, I just went on a little bit of a freaking tangent there. What are your thoughts about all that, Ethan?
I'm glad that you did, because I feel like, I mean, I'm almost inclined not to. I asked you this before you went on your thing. I don't even know if I want to show this, because like, I think that there's twofold, right? I think you painted this picture very clearly. What the problems are, right? Is that because even just today, when I was on Twitter and like looking at things, I was seeing people talking about like a schism. I think it's schism. But like I saw people talking about that, and I couldn't believe it. I just like, I get like that there are problems, but I was just talking. I mean, I talked to this Colleen. I said, like, unless he sits on the seat of Peter, like all the things that are coming out of his mouth is just him being human. So any of the things that he does wrong, like, yeah, it's because he's broken, just like the rest of us. All those people up in the, that are in his what are they called? They're in the cabinet, right? Is that a cabinet? I think it is, of the bishops, of all the different bishops, right? Archbishops.
So
I don't
what
remember.
you're talking about is the ex cathedra. So he's not teaching dogmatically. He's not. So when he's not speaking infallibly when he teaches his crazy stuff,
right?
And as long as he is not trying to propagate dogmatic teaching,
right,
with his crazy crap,
right,
then we have to look at it as he's just a person,
right?
The problem is that the average person does not understand a lot of that.
And that's right, and that's what I think. Right. I think that's why your first point being that who suffers? The children.
Yeah.
Like, we are all, every single one of us in the Catholic faith are suffering because of his actions.
Yeah.
Like I have described my unhappiness that the lack of clarity that has come from the papacy. This papacy. I mean, I don't really remember a pope that did speak in clear terms what is and is not supposed to be happening, like the trans issue or the gay issue, all these things that need described. Like, obviously we can look at the books that have been handed down to us, all the things that we already know about, like the I can't think of the word right now, but it's not the Catholicism, it's the
Catechism.
Thank you. Yeah, like, we can look at those things and we can know the answer, but to hear it come from somebody with power like the Pope would be great to hear. This is how it is. This is the brass tacks. This is the truth. And everybody kind of just has to accept it because it's it's reality. It is the reality of our lives. And the fact that he has never done that once ever, like, at least from what I can recollect, I don't feel like there's been any moment in this papacy where I have felt like, yeah, that's my Pope. He's speaking truth. There's no, like, and now I wasn't alive for JP2. That's the only one that I know.
So cute.
That's the only one that I know that, at least, like, I don't remember Benedict very well. But like, JP2, at least to me, was the last one that was very much like, this is how theology of the body. This is how it is. This is how we're supposed to be treating our bodies. This is how we're supposed to be treating each other. Like, there are problems that are going on with the sexual revolution. Let's talk about it. No,
and Humanae Vitae before him, but even though he was instrumental in the creation of that too.
Right. That's kind of just how I feel about all of this. Looking at all these people talking about this, and it's because it almost feels like they want a schism, and that's not something we should, like. At least in my opinion, that's not something we should want.
You mean a schism?
Yeah, we don't want division. Like, why would we want to divide? That's what Satan wants. Satan wants division.
Yeah, so in my upcoming book, there's a chapter where I talk briefly about the worship of the golden calf. And so what happened there is that Moses goes up the mountain for an undefined amount of time to be with God on the mountain. And the people are hanging out. They only have Aaron there with them, who was Moses' right-hand man. And they are getting antsy. They want to worship. They want to worship God.
Yeah.
But in their antsiness, they want to worship God because he just triumphantly led them out of Egypt, right?
Fire, tornadoes, and everything. Yeah.
And so they legitimately, there's this desire in them to worship God, but then without the protection of the authority that God put in place through Moses, in the absence of him, they were not protected from themselves to execute on that desire to worship, which is a good desire.
Yeah.
But so because they weren't protected from themselves, it became twisted and diabolic.
Wow.
And what's happening right now with the Synod of Synodality, or Synod on Synodality, whatever the crap that means, what's happening right now, to me, is the equivalent of Moses coming down from the mountain, seeing the confusion that is taking place, and instead of berating them and correcting them and putting them in their place, Moses saying, this is interesting, guys. Why don't we talk more about this and get a sense of everyone's opinions about this? And, while we're at it, we can hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Maybe we can rock back and forth around the golden idol that you guys have created. Because you guys, obviously you have no idea what the crap you're doing, but you're doing stuff and it makes you feel good. So let's keep doing whatever the crap this is. Sure, I just came down off the mountain, and sure, he gave me authority to correct you. And in fact, he's the one that sent me down here to stop you from what you're doing. But instead, let's just talk more about this. Let's just kind of swim. Let's bask in the glory of this sinful behavior. Let's just let it be about us. That's what's happening right now with the Synod on Synodality.
Yeah.
We don't need to hear each other's opinions. What we need is the leadership of the people who God put in authority to tell us how to live, to fix the problems and the confusion that are happening in our society right now. That is what we need, and that is not what we're getting.
Yeah.
All right.
That is exact.
Sorry.
How angry you got, but that's yes. I mean, scream it to the heavens, Nick. I at this point, that is the frustration that I have, is that, yes, I get that we're supposed to be loving people. Yes. But you are the Pope. You are talking to Catholics. You are supposed to bring, our place in this is so that we can then go spread the gospel clearly to other people.
And live it out ourselves well.
And if I don't know how I'm supposed to do this, if I don't know, like, you are the authority. You are the one that is supposed to be guiding us.
Protecting truth,
right?
not muddying it. Yeah.
Man.
Okay.
It's just depressing. But
again, we are the ones that suffer for it.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And, I don't want to be a sensationalist.
Yeah.
I just see how the confusion is hurting people.
Yeah.
What we need is the Mother Teresa that walks up to the Clintons and says that abortion is evil.
Yeah.
We need that boldness from this small Polish woman.
Right.
We need that boldness from our leadership right now to walk into our nation from the Vatican.
Yeah.
And short of that, we need our bishops to walk into the capital of our nation and say that it is absolutely diabolic and evil what we are doing to our young people in this the chemical castration and the literal physical mutilation and in the killing of the unborn. And we need our church leadership to stand up for what is right.
Yeah.
All right. So, do we have anything fun and happy?
Unfortunately, I wish I would have thought about this beforehand.
What have you done, Ethan and Colleen?
I know. We didn't think it'd get this far. I don't know.
I didn't expect to go into all that either.
No.
All right.
But, here's the thing is, right? I think that what I feel is that there are so many people that are actively working towards a better tomorrow, like Christopher West, like you, like insert good person here who is following the Holy Spirit. There are so many people actively doing good things in the Catholic Church that are leading, that are holding torches and saying this is how we're supposed to act. Peter Range, Kevin Jory, right? These are people that are actively. I mean, they just raised $1,900 for a woman so that she didn't give up so she didn't kill her baby
in 2 seconds.
In 2 seconds,
yeah.
Unbelievable. I couldn't see it. Like, I looked at my email. I was like, oh, I should probably do that. Put it away. Hours later, open it up. It was already done.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
That's happening now. That's happening. Like, it happened last weekend. That's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
These are people actively doing these things. So that's my happy hope thing to follow up after this, is that we should be working together here in our locations where we're at, doing community things, going to Theologies on Tap, going to Jesus and Jameson and Jesus, doing these things where we're learning more, we're talking more, we're getting, we are traveling with Christ on the journey that he's called us to, because clearly he's doing this for a reason, right? He wouldn't do this just for fun and giggles and be like, haha, good luck, guys.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's doing this because, challenges make us better.
Yeah.
Challenges force us to be better. Because why'd he put us on this earth if we didn't want to learn, if we didn't want to be better people, if we didn't want to love courageously and also to be truthful courageously, right?
Yeah. In the vein of what you're saying, I want to put a bow on this by circling back to what I was saying at the beginning, or somewhere in the course of that diatribe. We need to allow the space without criticizing them for our bishops to correct one another.
Yeah.
Nobody is above reproach.
Yep.
And just because right now Pope Francis Bergoglio is the one sitting on the chair of Peter, it does not mean he is not to be corrected. And we cannot be critical or defame the other bishops who are just trying their best to be shepherds. They're just trying to authentically live out their call, their ordination. We ought not chastise them or defame them or criticize them. Give this fraternity of bishops the space to figure this out. And like I said, it goes all the way back to the Acts of the Apostles. You can see it vividly between St. Paul and Peter, who had respect for each other, but were willing to correct each other when it was necessary. We have to allow that, and we cannot take this crazy tribal approach where we're critical of something that claims that someone did something wrong. No. We have to let the Holy Spirit work within the mechanism that was left to us in the church by Christ. And on that note, if you want to support the work that we're doing here, then I want to invite you to join the Awaken Nation. It's the community of patrons, donors at awakencatholic.org/donate. And join the family, join the Awaken Nation, and be a part of all of this. Please like and share this video, this episode. Make sure you're subscribed. Help us out. And if you want updates about the book, we're going to be setting a release date soon. And when we do, we're going to have a launch party right here at Awaken Theater. If you're anywhere within driving distance, and even if not, and you want to fly here for the launch party, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. Be watching out for us to release information about that. Make sure that you're subscribed to our newsletter in case the evil social media algorithm demons don't allow you to see any posts about it. Make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter by visiting awakencatholic.org. There's a sign up there. And also on my website, nickdlt.com, you can find the newsletter sign up right at the bottom. Okay. You got anything else for him, Ethan?
Nope. I think you're good. I think you're good to do your sign off there, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Nick de la Torre Show, and I've been here blessed to be in the presence of the one and only producer extraordinaire, Ethan Nagy, or as Siri likes to call him, don't know why, Ethan Naj. Siri gets Naj from Nagy. Anyways, before you go, everybody, have a beautiful weekend. I need you to know that Jesus loves you. Peace.